Hi, I'm Kerry Blaser, Mary Magdalene Soul. So today I've been intuitively guided to discuss the following, scenario. If Erika Kirk were my healing client, what do I see and what will be my recommendations? And I think that's something we can all learn from, and especially myself as I self-reflect, because the universe is a mirror showing me myself in every moment through my interactions with other people. Okay, so let me start with some of the men that I've helped so you understand kind of the caliber of men that I attract into my life and who I've helped. Justin Waller and his best friend, Andrew Tate. Two decorated fire academy instructors, one a fire captain and one who teaches urban search and rescue. And then Jason Colvin, currently head of global security at GoDaddy, who is a former FBI assistant special agent in charge, also JC Soul. Okay, so those kind of men have very complex wounds. And I'll quote Winston Churchill here. It is said famous men often take on, often have, are often the product. I'll start over. It is said that famous men are often the product of an unhappy childhood. And so they have complex wounds, but they had to learn how to overcome those wounds. There's their challenge to climb that mountaintop, because equal amount of wounds equals equal amount of wisdom or accomplishment. Okay, so they went deep so they could go high. All right, me too. I went deep so I can go high. So, and let's talk about cognitive dissonance, which is you say one thing, but you do another. Okay, and I'm going to start with some cognitive dissonance I see inside of Erika. And granted, no one is perfect. Like, I attempted suicide 6 years ago. Okay, and I have 3 kids. That's how bad it was for me. I used to get 4 to 7 migraines per week. So I've had tons of cognitive dissonance, and I've done a lot of healing work on myself and others to help them, align internally so that I don't have 2 different kind of versions of me running inside. It's like having to attend to 2 different people internally. It's a lot of emotional work. That's where the stress and anxiety and overwhelm comes from. Okay, so I'm well aware of this process, and I understand in other people only because I've healed it within myself. I'm a healer's healer. I'm here to help other people. I speak from my garage. I don't have money. So I'm just trying to help everyone through Erika see themselves, cognitive dissonance. Okay, so I only learned yesterday that Erika is pursuing a PhD. She has a podcast with 5 million subscribers. She has several under interest. And, after Charlie was killed, even before the funeral, she had been elected CEO of Turning Point USA, a very masculine job. Okay, she's been all over the world. She's been married before. She's 5 years older than Charlie. Okay, but it's my understanding that what she promotes is, oh, marry young, women don't need to go to college, stay home. Well, she doesn't stay home, and so all the makeup and all the eye makeup, our eyes are the windows to the soul. Well, what is she covering for people to see in, and what is she blocking that she could see out? Another sign that she's surface level and she doesn't want people to see what's on the inside. So she'll be a mouthpiece for women marrying young, staying at home, not going to college, but she's better than that, and she's doing something else. I'm a model for how to heal and how to be a healthy feminine woman because I live it every day. Saying it, being a mouthpiece, and then acting otherwise is why people don't trust people. When people see the cognitive dissonance, then there's a lack of trust. Okay, so, and a lot of people are celebrating that she said, I forgive him. That she's already at forgiveness. In only a week and a half, that she's already at forgiveness. That's where I'm calling bullshit. If she had said, I'm working on forgiving him, I'm healing through this trauma. I'm working through it daily. If she had said that, that's a whole other story. But I forgive him, and I'm now the CEO of Turning Point USA, is where I'm calling fucking bullshit on every fucking level. Why? Because she has to be in her feminine to heal, to surrender to her pain, to self-reflect, which is also feminine, and then forgiveness will naturally happen. But this woman isn't at home surrendering to her emotional pain. She's acting like a man. Men act, women surrender. So from a healing perspective, what she's saying she's accomplished is not possible. So let me talk about the healing process that I take people through. It's called appreciate, learn, forgive. Appreciate your challenges in life, which could take a lot of time to appreciate that your husband was shot in front of you and your 2 children. That's a lot of wherewithal and a lot of digging to find gratitude for that event. That doesn't happen in a week and a half. So step 1 of the healing process isn't possible in 1.5 weeks. So there's the bullshit right there. Then the person's got to take time to dive into their emotional pain, to find the wisdom stored within the darkness. But she's so busy being in her masculine with all the podcast and all the PhD and all these other things, even though she presents super feminine. See, there's a lie. On the inside, she's pursuing masculine pursuits. On the outside, she looks super feminine. Okay, there's the cognitive dissonance again. So once she finds the wisdom inside the wound, then the forgiveness naturally happens. But if she's so busy being CEO of Turning Point USA, she's not busy surrendering to her pain through appreciation and gratitude to open her heart, create the emotional and hormonal situation in her body where she could actually dive that deep. And then there's the deep dive into the pain. And then there's the forgiveness. So now I'm going to share some things that have been happening at home. I'm at home all day long. I stay at home all day long talking to souls. And I have another video on that. So I've already come clean that that's what I do. Okay. So it was started like right after I started talking to her soul and, and Charlie's soul. Why? Okay. So I was born in Scottsdale, Arizona. Jason Colvin, GoDaddy, is in Phoenix, Arizona. TPUSA is registered at GoDaddy. Their domain is registered there. Okay, so there's a lot of connections that I have there, and Jason lives out there, right in that same arena. Okay, so he's feeding me information as well. And so, and I didn't know all this, that she's pursuing a PhD in her podcast, because I hadn't researched her. I'm like, oh, I'm having compassion for her. Like that, I understand from 2,000 years ago to have your man killed in front of you. That's something my soul understands. So compassion. And then she shows up. So of course I'm going to give her time. But how does she show up? Arrogant. I deserve to be with JC. I deserve Jason. I want him. What? I'm sorry, what? Wait, what? Totally didn't understand. So I'm like talking to her and stuff. And I don't remember that conversation because I was channeling. But talking about how she treats the kids, she does, what I got was maybe 30-40% of the time she's with the kids, but there's a lot of other caretakers of the kids. I'm like, you got millions of dollars and you're talking about creating heaven on earth? And what is heaven on earth? All day long with 2 beautiful children. I mean, I would have given anything to have all day long with 2 beautiful children. But that doesn't seem like, with the podcast and the PhD and the whole need to have all this makeup and lashes, and that takes time. How are you all like that? And then you're waking up, making breakfast, playing with the kids, lunch, naps, dinner, all that by yourself. Not happening. It's not happening. So it was gnarly, and it was so bad, and the things that came through were so bad. So you can imagine she's in her masculine. So that's more in his feminine. And that was more evidenced by people didn't think Charlie Kirk could throw a football, which I didn't think so either. But then he totally could. I'm like, so there's more masculinity in there that he's hiding. So he's repressing some masculinity. So that's her masculinity. And I always felt like he was pedestalizing her because she used to be a jock in college. Okay. Oh, other things that I didn't know that I learned. Charlie Kirk's dad was the architect on Trump Tower. And then she's in the Miss America pageant and Trump introduced them. She's 5 years older, married before. And Charlie Kirk can have anyone. So is there arrogance on his, like, did their arrogance attract each other? Like, where did they resonate, right? Where was the resonance? So, sorry, I get a little off track there. But then, so I'm kind of, I'm talking about their souls and I'm like, okay, every couple has their challenges. And so let's help Charlie process his emotional pain. So when he comes back next time, he can be even healthier, which is the whole point. And it was so bad with her that I got up and I fucking decked her and I kicked her. And it just came out of me like, you fucking bitch, the way you treated him. And I just lost it. And that rarely happens. Rarely happens that I interact with a soul like that. But that is what happened to me. You can believe me, you cannot believe me. But that all happened before I knew about the PhD, the master's degree she already has, the podcast. I knew about Turning Point, CEO. I'm like, oh, sus. If she's going for a masculine accolade, she's totally in her masculine, which puts him more in his feminine. Everything's about balance, right? A feminine man will attract in a masculine woman because we're attracted to our opposites to see ourselves. And the opposite is what makes energy fluctuate. Okay? So when I came upon Matt Walsh's video yesterday, and then that's kind of what he showed me, a lot of women are questioning it, that it didn't seem sincere. It did not seem sincere to me. And I wasn't drawn to even watch the memorial, even though I'm talking to their souls all day long. Because I didn't want to sit there and see the cognitive dissonance. Now people say, she hugged Trump, but Trump doesn't hug women. Why didn't she respect his boundary? Why is she entitled to a man who's the president of the United States who doesn't hug? I don't know. I'm asking the question. I don't know a lot of things and I don't dive in to all all the research and details. I'm just sharing my experience of this whole situation. So, and this is where I'm going to call out Christianity. Jesus, every soul has sovereignty over themselves. No other soul can get into my soul and tell me what to do. No other soul can do the work for me. I have to do the work myself to transform my wounds into wisdom. Personally have to do the work because I have to learn how to expand my own emotional range and become a more mature person and not rely on an outside deity to do it for me. And I'm going to quote Carl Jung. One does not become enlightened by imagining beings of light. Oh, Jesus. But by making their darkness conscious. Okay? And let's talk a little more about it. I mean, Charlie's death was a little Jesus died for our sins right? And there's also sayings, that the false prophet always comes before the true prophet. Okay? So let's talk a little about prophecies. There's a prophecy, I don't know if it's Christian and Jewish, I'm not sure, but I think that goes together because it comes together with the third temple. And so that this year, in Hebrew year 5786, and my ex-husband is Israeli who went back home and is just returning today for that event, that they killed the 10 heifers, and that they were going to blow the shofar horns to celebrate the coming of the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, globally live. They've never done that before. Why? Because they're calling in the Messiah. Of course, they would know this, right? So close to Israel, right? I don't know. Did they meet in Israel? I'm not sure. You see what I'm saying? Oh, let's have them meet in Israel. Oh my God. I don't know what happened. I don't. But there's no way her heart has transformed those wounds into wisdom because it's just not possible. Women neurologically take 10 to 20 times as long to process their emotional pain than men, evidenced by science. That's why women make all those connections. Like if a man calls his friend, hey, you want to have dinner? Yeah, I'll see you at 6. That's how fast men can process things. Women, hey, you want to have dinner? Oh, I'm kind of on a diet and my clothes and the kids and da-da-da-da, making all the connections, healthy and normal. And then it comes out the front 20 minutes later, okay, I'll see you at 6. We all know that's true. So that's what I'm calling the bullshit. She's busy doing makeup and hair and this show and that thing and TPOUS. That's all masculine. That's all a front. Because inside, she's in so much pain from all of her other trauma before she got to Charlie that hasn't been processed. And I'm giving it to Jesus. That is not how it works. I'm the only one that can change those wounds. Jesus can't reach inside of me and change those wounds. I mean, I recently did an interview with a guy who's been Christian his whole life, but he went outside of Christianity to figure out how to increase his vibration. Oh, so then he proved that you don't need the church to access the divinity inside of your soul. Don't need it, because he left the church to do it. Isn't that what the church is for? Because the church teaches that the cross is the only ladder to heaven. Oh, wait, my first video was on September 14th, Exaltation of the Holy Cross, where they celebrate that truth. That's healing bullshit. That's control. That is an external solution to an internal problem. That's cognitive dissonance, saying, two different things are inside you at the same time. So I encourage you to question and not just believe, okay? I'm not saying Charlie Kirk didn't do amazing things. I'm not saying Erika Kirk hasn't done amazing things. Everyone is wounded. I'm calling out the bullshit that I see. And I help other people, trust themselves, trust their intuition, self-reflect, okay, on this whole situation and ask questions. And when we ask questions about other people, then that shows us parts of ourselves, okay? If I say, oh, what a bitch, then am I being a bitch, I ask those questions all day long, and I rarely leave my house because I'm so busy talking to souls, self-reflecting, figuring it out, helping everyone, all souls, come into alignment. That's why I'm in and out of enlightenment all the time, because in that emotional state, I'm most connected to all of their souls. And that's my job as the central figure in this relationship, that I'm the center. I'm the connection to source, and it's my job to my family, the whole collective of souls, to be as high vibrating as possible so we can all create heaven on earth together. Okay, so let's all increase our vibration and create heaven on earth together. And I have another video. I'll link below in the description the 6 self-love techniques that I have for healing, and it's like a 5 or 6 page document. You implement those in your life. And it takes time, and it's a process. Like I'm in this 10 years now of healing from my childhood trauma, which is profound, 10 years later, okay? So thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe, and take care.